Earlier this week, Rightmove released some data that showed that whilst property prices were rising, they were rising at a slower rate. They also warned that following the conflict in Iran and uncertainty politically and economically elsewhere, mortgage rates had increased, making it more difficult, especially for first-time buyers, and that there were more properties sitting on the market than there had been before. It's challenging circumstances if you're in the home building game. What do you think, other than those macro things, can be done to perhaps start to get the market ticking over in general, and maybe specifically in the areas that you work in?
Yeah, well, I think obviously one of the difficult dynamics is, when we have like overseas conflict and things that, that affects confidence levels in all sorts of sectors, isn't it? So, people are then making decisions about whether they want to move house or not, whether they where things are going to go, and as you say, mortgage rate stability. So I think that they're very difficult sort of challenges that almost are, to a degree, largely outside of our control in our sort of market. But what I sort of feel is when we're looking about building more homes, what we have to think about is building more homes with more options. So, when you look across Europe, there's way more flexibility around how you can buy a house, the tenancies, and I think this is what we're sort of seeing now as a big opportunity. So, build to rent investors, social landlords are widening out their product base to allow people to get, onto the property sale at little or no deposits, to part buy properties or to rent to buy properties and all those different things. So I think that putting that optionality into the market is going to help, because it's going to get people on the ladder, and it's going to get them some level of mortgage sort of track record. So I think that's super important. I know we were all brought up, when we were younger, you've got to buy a house as soon as possible and get your mortgage paid down. But I think probably younger people particularly, I think they want that flexibility because they haven't made a decision about where they want to put their roots down, and they maybe do want to move around a little bit and decide which city they want to live in and where the right job opportunities are. So I think that's something that we're really focused on, trying to make sure that we work with that breadth of partners. So because as you say there, the difficulty we're going to have, particularly around housing targets, is we rely on the PLC house builders to keep up the numbers, and obviously as they start to see the market being more challenging, they're going to roll back and land bank and on all those sorts of things, and actually we're going to start to sort of regress in housing numbers. So we're going to rely heavily on innovation, more innovative models and how people can sort of buy and rent and part buy properties. I think that's a key thing.
So clearly global events and global affairs can make big impacts on those things. But equally, local activities and local rules and laws can make a difference as well. Yeah. At the end of the day, you need planning permissions and approvals and a market that works in a locality. From your experience working across the north of England, the northwest in particular, what are some good examples of where maybe local authorities and the public sector are working with the house builders and with developers to get things done, and what more could be done?
Yeah, I think there's, the great thing is there's a lot of good work going on around this, particularly, across the Liverpool City region, which we're quite heavily involved in some of these discussions around how we can sort of make the whole process more frictionless. And something I talk about quite a lot is, when we talk about acceleration of house building, everybody focuses on the physicality of building the house. So how are we going to do it? Have we got the right skills? Are we going to build it traditionally or using MMC? And that's where all the focus goes. Whereas 2/3 of the problem are nothing to do with that. 2/3 of the problem are, where are we going to build the houses? It's the land. So in whose ownership, and how is that ownership being transferred into the right hands? In some cases, it's in local authority hands, but it's very difficult to get it into the right responsible developers' hands to deliver the housing that we need, rather than what delivers the most profit. And I think that the second part of that sort of three-part pie really is this planning and almost pre-construction process. It's very difficult because there are lots of organisations involved in that all have conflicting views and values and objectives, and I think that's going to be the big challenge. So we're doing a lot of work now around how can a local authority or a registered provider procure land for its purpose, rather than just what the best bang for the buck is. you see this a lot. There's a lot of stuff being built, tenancies being built that make the developer the right profit, but it's not satisfying the housing demand. Right. You look at the housing waiting lists. There's certain 3 beds, for example. Massive demand, but not a lot of people building them. So I think there's a sort of lot of work to do around that land side, and then really it's not just about the planning teams, because you've got all sorts of consultees that are involved in that process that result in big delays, and I think we've got to find a way of getting those 2 things sorted. I then feel really the latter part, even though there's challenges there, the private sector is quite good at responding to those challenges and finding ways to develop skills and to generate capital and to deliver. That's what private sector is good at. But we've got to work together with the public sector to fix the other 2 bits first.
And clearly there's innovation in the construction sector. There perhaps needs to be equal amounts of innovation in the laws and the regulations that allow these things. One of the big challenges that we face is release of greenbelt land. It's a very emotive issue for people. Yet there's lots of pre-developed sites and brownfield sites and redevelopment sites that are available, perhaps more attractive to developers at a different scale than those who are looking at PLC level. Yeah. to build hundreds or thousands of homes in one go. What can be done to unlock those sites?
I think the difficulty is there's always a balance, isn't it, between we should always be responsible, not going greenbelt first, because everybody wants to build in these nice sort of green fields and things. But I think the big issue you have with the brownfield sites is it's the viability. The reason they've not been unlocked in the past, through private sector investment or public sector investment, is that they have challenges. And what I think what the sector's trying to do now is to find solutions around that. There's a little bit of the same issue where there's lots of different pots of cash that I think it's very difficult to see how they interact. The city region have got a pot there now to invest and to sort of try and unlock those things, but that has to link in with Homes England and how that funding for the grant funding works for the homes. So it can get quite complicated, but I do think there's going to have to be a balance, and I know a lot of local authorities are talking about this now, is to say, well, we can't just go brownfield only because it's too challenging, and there is limited resources to subsidise land remediation. So we're going to have to unlock some of the sort of almost grey belt, as people call it, or we're not building in farmers' fields, but it might be not necessarily on an ex-warehouse site, or something that's had housing on there before. So I think that's going to be a key thing, really, to we've got, because really what we've got to do is we've got to create the market opportunity. If we've got developable sites that we can take out to the market as a city region, or as a UK, then you're gonna get the private sector responding to those opportunities, particularly on build-to-rent investors and social landlords, because they are sort of not mandated, but they have the provisions there to build and the targets and the motivations to do it.
One of the opportunities that house building also provides is the ability to create a place, to build community, to strengthen existing communities. One area in the city of Liverpool that's offering that opportunity is the Festival Gardens site in the south of the city. You've been selected as a partner, I believe, to build housing there. What's planned there?
So it's a fantastic opportunity. So we've gone in partnership with the Urban Splash Igloo JV, and we're the first developer on the first phase, around about 50 homes, and then subject to that being delivered and starting the placemaking out, there's a second phase, and then we've also been selected as the construction technology partner for the other partners that are delivering. There's a registered provider and a private fund in there. But as you said there, and this is the key thing about not just seeing things as a piece of land and what's the maximum profit that can be made on there. We have to create communities with facilities, places where people want to live, interconnectability with other communities and transport and all that sort of stuff. So it's great to sort of have a project like that you're there from the start and you're helping sort of shape. It's a phased project, so again, all the partners can learn as they go. It's a famous site, isn't it? It's probably the most famous site in the city region that's been there, dangling away, ready to be developed. So I think it's a lot of work to do on the design and sort of development side, but looking forward to getting moving on that.
One of the challenges also, of course, is you're introducing new technologies and new innovations into the construction business. Do you have the skills? Do you have the workforce that ready to go to help you deliver all these sites?
Yeah, I think, you know, we sort of have a lot of discussions around skills with all the sort of skills sector leaders, and I think, you know, there's a sort of shared vision around this, is that you can't develop skills through strategy, it's through opportunity. So if you talk to the colleges and the universities, they are very good at responding to a market demand for skills. So, you know, if we were to bring a brand new organisation into the region that needed a very particular skill, you would see those organisations change and morph to be able to sort of to fill that sort of gap. I don't think it's something we can do by filling rooms full of people that have got the new skills for air source heat pumps and, you know, advanced manufacturing and industrialised construction. I think what we've got to do is create the opportunities. It gives people the confidence that there is a job and there's a career and there's some stability there and there's a pipeline. And then, you know, we're pretty confident, as we said before, we've got a very simple model that allows the entry point to be quite low, very clear, exciting career paths to climb the ladder. And I think that's the key to it, really, is creating that market opportunity.
Are you working with skills providers, education providers across the city region and the north to try and put those programs in place?
Yeah, of course. In every region we work, you know, with our campus model. So we're doing this in the Liverpool City region, the same as we're doing in Manchester, up in Hull, and that means there's three sort of things that happen really in our world. We have a manufacturing facility that is physically manufacturing the products. We have our academy that is has embedded FE and HE partners in there. So if we use the Liverpool City region as an example, we work with Liverpool John Moores, University of Liverpool, on building performance. We fill our buildings full of probes and monitoring systems, and then we figure out how do they behave, how do people use them. You know, embodied carbon in operation, energy use. So we do a lot of study work on that, right the way through to you know, most of the organisations, the higher education organisations in the city region. We've got training rigs embedded in their sites for helping develop the curriculum that students are spending time with us, right the way through assembly all the way up to design engineers, to give them sort of market knowledge about what we do and what we see as a big growth sector, you know, not just regionally but nationally. So yeah, it's an important part. And then the third part we have is we have an innovation centre, and that's where we have formal partnerships with you know, national, regional and international partners. So the one we launched a couple of weeks ago with Bandersanden, first UK partnership on brick facades, Saint-Gobain, Bellux. These are companies that were helping develop products for the first time ever in the UK, things that can be used in the market by us and others. And that's really our vision for what a campus should look like, wherever that might be, is that you've got those three dynamics happening all the time.
It's great to hear about the international reach of the organisation. When we come back, we're going to hear about your experiences at MIPIM and what you're looking forward to at UK Reef.